We begin the Gemara after the Mishnah on Daf Mem Tes Amud Beis. We learned here in the Mishnah a person that was traveling on the way, Erev Shabbos, and he realizes that he's far away from his house and he wants to establish a shvisa by a tree that's 2,000 tamas away from where he is. But he doesn't establish the shvisa and designate specifically where in the tree he's establishing the shvisa. He just says tachtav, under the tree. So because he didn't specify the place in the tree, so therefore the Mishnah said, lo yama klum. The shvisa doesn't take effect. So the Gemara now will explain the meaning of lo yama klum. What does this mean? And the Gemara brings a machlokes here between Rav and Shmuel. My lo yama klum. What does the Mishnah mean when it says lo yama klum? Omar Rav. Rav says lo yama klum kol ikke. Lo yama klum means what he did is pointless. Not only pointless, he actually ruined it for himself. Now he can't even go from where he is to that place in the tree, under the tree. And the reason is, now that he's designating that place to be his tchum, so he removed his mind of his shvisa being where he is. So this is not his tchum, is not going to be here. And the place where he tried to designate his tchum to be his shvisa there, he didn't specify it enough, so his shvisa is not going to be there either. So he can't, either way, he doesn't have any shvisa. So wherever he is, he's going to have to remain within his dalad amas. Shmuel Amar, Shmuel says, lo yama klum. What lo yama klum means at lebeisai. He won't be able to establish a tchum there under the tree to go to his house. Aval tachtov shal ilon matzi ozel. But to go to under the tree, he will be allowed to go. And now, v'nasa tachtov shal ilon chamar gamal. Under the tree, so it'll be like a chamar gamal. We had this expression before, chamar gamal, where a person is pulled in two directions. He has a gamal in front and a chamar in the back, so he's pulled in two directions. Over here as well, the person is being pulled in two directions. So what we're talking about over here is, if you take a look in the picture Reish, Samach, Ches, so we're talking about a tree. The entire tree is within the 2,000 amas of where he's standing right now. It's all within his tchum. However, the house that he wants to go to, only half of the tree is in the tchum. Only until the stump of the tree, not the other half of the tree, the branches that extend away from the house. So he's not going to be able to use this tchum to go to his house. So if he's going to try to measure from where he is over here under the tree to his house, and he wants to measure, let's say, from the north side of the tree to go to his house, we're going to say to him, how could you measure from the north side of the tree? You didn't specify. Maybe we have to measure from the south side of the tree. And if you measure from the south side of the tree, that's already too far from your house. You're out of the tchum. And if he's going to want to measure in the other direction as well, if you're going to want to measure from the south, we're going to say maybe you have to measure from the north. So because we don't know the entire span of the branches of the tree, we don't know exactly where he established his tchum, so either way he wants to go, we're going to have to measure from the opposite side, the tchum. Let's see in the words of the Gemara now. So he becomes a chama gamal. Baal limdoid ben atzafen. If he wants to measure from the north side of the tree and to count from there 2,000 amas to be able to go to his house, we tell him you can't measure just from the north. You have to measure from the span of the branches that are on the south because you didn't specify. Baal limdoid ben adarim. If you want to measure from the south side, we're going to tell him no, you didn't specify. You have to measure your tchum from the span of the north side of the branches. So therefore, under the tree, we have to measure in both directions from both sides, and therefore, as I said, the case we're speaking about over here is the entire tree is within his tchum to where he's standing now. But his house that he wants to go to, that's 2,000 amas away from this tree, is not within the entire span of the branches of the tree, only half to the stump of the tree. So therefore, he can't go from this place to his house, because we have to measure from the opposite side of the span of the branches that's out of the tchum of his house. Omar Rabbe says, my time of the Rav. What is the reason for Rav's opinion that he becomes stuck within his 4 amas and he can't go anywhere? So the Gemara, Mishum de la Misai Masre, because when he wanted to establish his shvisa in this place under the tree, he didn't specify the place. In order to establish a shvisa, you have to specify exactly where it is, not under a tree that's a large area, more than 4 amas, and it's not specified. Others say that the basis of Rav's opinion is different, or Rav's opinion is different. Omar Rabbi said, my time with the Rav. What's the reason for Rav? Mishum de Kasava, because Rav's basis is the following rule. And this is a rule that applies in many different scenarios, as we'll see here in the Gemara. Kol she'enoi bezeh achazeh. Anything that you don't have the ability to do one after the next, afilu b'vas achas einoi. You cannot have it take effect simultaneously either. Before I apply it to the case that we're speaking about here, so this is brought l'moshel in the Gemara of Kedushin, where a person is going to be Mekadesh, a mother and a daughter. So of course you can't be Mekadesh first a mother and then a daughter, because once you Mekadesh the mother, so then the Kedusha for the daughter won't take effect. So what's if a person's going to want to be Mekadesh the mother and the daughter together? He tells them together, you both are Mekudesh to me. Will I say that at least one Kedushin takes effect for either the mother or the daughter? It's not one after the other. So the answer is no. Just like if you do one after the other, it wouldn't take effect. If you Mekadesh them both together, now neither Kedushin takes effect. So the application to our case over here, as Rashi explains, is if a person would want to establish 4 amas for his shvisa, and then after that establish another 4 amas for his shvisa, it's not going to take effect. You already established for Shabbos these 4 amas, so how could it now be in a different 4 amas? So too, if you're going to want to establish the entire area under this tree, which has more than 4 amas, that has 8 amas or 12 amas, and you want to establish, at the same time you say that entire area is my shvisa, it won't take effect. If it doesn't work when you do first 4 amas and then another 4 amas, it doesn't take effect if you do it b'vas achas as well, without specifying, it can't take effect on neither of the daled amas that exist in that area. So, the Gemara, my beinayu, what would be the difference between these two explanations of Rav's opinion? Ike beinayu, the Omar, the difference would be in a case where the person says, Liknu li ba'arba amos migoy shmeina. I want to be kind of shvisa under this tree 4 out of the 8 amas. So he specified 4 out of the 8. If the issue here was that since it's the span of the branches of this tree is larger than 4 amas, it has 8 amas or perhaps even more, and the issue was that he did not specify, in this case he did. So then, again, sorry, I'm going to retract that. Let's read it again in the Gemara. The one that says Mishum Deloi Messiah Masrei, Haloi Messiah Masrei. Even though he says I want to have the Shvisa 4 out of the 8, but he still did not specify. He didn't specify which 4 out of the 8. So therefore it still will not take effect. But the opinion that says that the only issue over here was that the area had 8 amas, and just like you can't establish first one set of 4 amas and then another 4 amas, one after the other, so too you can't establish the entire area of 8 amas at once. None of it will take effect. But over here, if he clearly says he only wants to establish his shvisa in 4 out of the 8, so then he's only establishing 4 as the shvisa. Even if he didn't specify the place, according to this opinion, that's not an issue. The issue was that he wanted to be kind of shvisa in an area of 8 amas, or maybe more than 8 amas. But now that he specified 4 out of 8, so then that's okay. So therefore, hi ka'arba amas dami. The hacha arba amas ka'ama. Here he's clearly saying that he only wants to specify, he only wants to have the shvisa that is in 4 out of the 8 amas. So therefore that would be okay. Now the Gemara brought up this klal that according to one interpretation here, Rav's opinion is based on the klal kol she'enoi b'zeh chazeh afilu b'vas achas einoi. If something can't take effect one after the other in consecutively, so that you can't take effect simultaneously either. So the Gemara now explains or brings questions on this from various different cases. Going back to the statement itself, so Abaye asked a question to Rabba about this. So let's look at the following case of Meiser. Hamarbe b'Meisres. A person that gives Meisres, but what's the shear of Meisres? Usually a 10th. This person gave double, a 5th. So the shear of Meisres, that's a maximum. More than that, it's not Meiser. So what happens? Peiroisav mesukanen. Because he gave the Meiser, the other peiros that he left in his field are okay. They have been Meisered. But u'Meisroisav mikulkolen. However, the Meisres that he gave is mixed with Meiser and Tevel. Part of it is Meiser. A 10th is Meiser. But the other 10th is not going to be Meiser. That's still going to be Tevel. When he gave the Meisres, he had in mind that all the leftovers in the field should be Chulin. But then this part that he gave for Meiser, and he gave a 5th, that entire 20%, he didn't intend to have any leftovers of it to be chulin for him to eat. So for the tenth of that, so that will be meiser. But the other part is still tevel. Meiser was not taken of it. So therefore the meiser is mixed with meiser and tevel. That's what means it's mekulkalin. The question now is, but amai, why does this work? How does this meiser even take effect at all? Why don't we apply the rule that we just said? Kol she'einoi bezeh achazeh. Anything that does not take effect one after the other. Afil bavas achaseinoi. So even if you do it simultaneously, it doesn't take effect either. So over here, in this case of meiser, if this person would want to take a tenth from meiser, and then he comes back and wants to take another tenth, would the second tenth take effect? No. The Torah says the maximum shear of the meiser is a tenth. After that, whatever meiser you take, it's not going to take effect. So if he does it bezeh chazeh, it doesn't take effect. So why, if he did it bevas achas and gave a fifth, did it take effect? Answers the Gemara, shani meiser. Meiser is different, the isei lachatzoin. Because in meiser, it's possible that it should take effect halfway. Meaning, and the Gemara explains, the oma, tiktoish palga de chitza. If this person would say, I'm taking 20%, I'm taking a fifth of all my produce, but I'm making maestris half of all the kernels that I'm taking now. So then Kedesha, it would take effect. So therefore, as Rashi explains, what the Gemara here means to say is, when this person was marbe b'maestris, we interpret his intention that he did not mean to take a fifth. When he said a fifth, what he meant to say is, a fifth of the produce, half of it will be maester. So therefore, that produce, that fifth, is going to be mekulkalin, that it's mixed with meiser and tevel. But the meiser took effect because only half of the kernels became meiser. That's how we interpret his intention. So he never really made meiser more than the maximum share of a tenth. The meiser was a tenth. It was just half of the kernels. Gemara brings another case. V'harei meiser behema. How about let's take a case of meiser behema. The lesei lachatzon. By meiser behema, this concept doesn't exist that you give a half a behema for meiser, so we won't be able to apply this answer to this case. How does meiser behema generally work? You bring all the animals into a barn, and then they come out of the entrance of the barn, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then the 10th one you hit with a strap or with a stick and with a red color, red paint, and you designate it, you call it as meiser behema. So what happens if the Omar Rabba, so Rabba said, Yatsu Shnayim Basiri. How about if two of them came out as tenth? Instead of one coming out of the door of the barn, two came out together. Vikaran Asiri. So he called both of them that they are, it's a tenth. Both of them, he called them to be the tenth for meiser behema. What's the halacha? Asiri v'achadasamu ravn zeh b'zeh. So what you have over here is two animals that the meiser behema was chal on both of them, but it's a suffix which one. They came out together, so they're mixed with each other. So we have to treat them as a suffix. What's the suffix? How do we treat them as a suffix? One is meiser behema, but the other one we don't know, so we have to be makriv it as a shlomim. Because it's a suffix meiser behema, we're makriv it as a shlomim. And as Rashi explains, the different mitzvahs or halachas in the avodah of a carbon shlomim are going to have to be performed on both of them because we don't know which one is which. For example, Rashi here brings that there's chazah v'shoik, there's the tnufa, that is, to lift up the chazah and shoik, there's the smicha. All of these things that are done are going to have to be done on both of them, but Rashi says it's going to have to be done with a suffix, and therefore it's done without a bracha, Rashi says. Okay, in the sachim as well, you're going to have to bring the nesachim as well with a condition. If it's a shlomim, it needs nesachim. If it's a meiser behema, it does not need nesachim. But the meiser takes effect as a suffix on both of them when they came out together. Very interesting to point out. Rashi says that you don't make a bracha on the tnufa, you don't make a bracha on the smicha. From this Rashi, you see that when the kohen does the avodas in the Beis HaMikdash, every individual avodah of a carbon requires a separate bracha. So machlekes Rishonim about this, machlekes the Rambam and the Ramban. Rashi here is following the opinion of the Ramban that every particular avodah needs another bracha. But in this case, you can't make a bracha because it's a suffix. So now the question of the Gemara is, in this case, why wouldn't we say that what would happen if the 10th goes out and then the 11th goes out? The 10th is meiser. The 11th is not meiser. Bezeh achazeh, only the 10th is, not the 11th. So over here, in this case, if they both came out together and you simultaneously said that they should be meiser, nothing should take effect. It shouldn't be any suffix at all. If it's not Bezeh Chazeh, it shouldn't take effect B'vasachas either. So the Gemara explains, no, Shani Ma'aseh Be'emet De'iseh Bezeh Chazeh. It's not true. By Ma'aseh Be'emet, there is a scenario where the 10th will be Ma'aser and the 11th will be Ma'aser as well, B'to'os, when a person mistakenly said that the 11th should be Ma'aser. That now we learned in the Mishnah, Kara L'chi Asiri. Person that designated, he said on the 9th mistakenly that it's the 10th, that it should be Ma'aser. Ula Asiri Chi. And then he referred to the 10th, which is actually the 10th, he referred to it as the 9th. Ula Achadasa Asiri. And referred to the 11th as the 10th. In any of these cases, shloshton, or if it happened all together this way, shloshton mikudoshim. They're all going to be holy. The meiser is chal on all of them. This is learned out from psukim. The Gemara in Chaydes brings psukim that even if it's done betos, it's chal on all of them. So what do we see over here? That it could happen b'zeach hazeh. The 10th could be meiser, and the 11th will also be meiser. If the 10th is the actual 10th, and then if you call the 11th 10th, then the 11th will also be meiser. So it is b'zeach hazeh. So therefore, if they come up with vasachas, they will both misafik, they'll both be meiser behema or shlomim, as I explained before. So therefore, this is not a question on this rule. Practically, from another case, the carbon taida, the lesse betoos. This concept of tos cannot be applied there. The lesse bezeach hazeh, and also it will not take effect bezeach hazeh one after the other. What are we referring to over here specifically regarding a carbon taida? Carbon taida requires to have 40 chalas that are brought along with it. Okay, so how about a case with Itmar? We learned taida shenishchata al shmeinim chalas. A taida was shechted, and the owner designated 80 chalas for this carbon. Chizkiyama kachu Allah memi teich shmeinim. 40 out of the 80, the kedusha of those 40 chalas take effect for the carbon. Rabbi Yechanan says, Loi kachu Allah memi teich shmeinim. None of it takes effect. Even 40 out of the 80 don't take effect either. So what's the question of the Gemara? Over here, if a person is makdish for this carbon, it only needs 40. That's the maximum. If a person is makdish 40 chalas, and then he's makdish again another 40, will the second set of 40 take effect? Of course not. It's not part of the carbon at all. So if it doesn't take effect b'zeach hazeh, so why if he b'vasachas is makdish 80, why would Chizkiya say that 40 out of the 80 took effect? If it doesn't work b'zeach hazeh, it shouldn't work b'vasachas either. So the Gemara answers, ha'itmer Allah. So didn't we learn on this as follows? Amar Rab Zayda, or another girsa here is that it's Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi. Hakoyel maidim, everybody would agree. Heichadam eliktashuar boim mitoich shmeinim. If he clearly specified that I want 40 out of these 80 breads to be for the carbon, the kachi. So then he specified these 40, so for sure it'll take effect. If he clearly said, I don't want the 40 to take effect alone, unless all 80 take effect together, so he's being makdish all 80, he specified it in that way, everybody would agree that it doesn't work. If it doesn't work, being makdish all 80 together doesn't work either, exactly like the rule says. What's the case we're talking about over here? Bestama, when the person didn't specify it to that effect, the person says, I'm being makdish out of these 80. Marsavar, or he's being makdish these 80, that is. He didn't say clearly that I only want it to take effect if all 80 take effect. So then, Marsavar, lachrayis kamachavim. Chizkiya says, you know why the 40 takes effect? Because we interpret his intention this way. We interpret that what he meant to say is, he knows he only needs 40 breads for the carbon. What he meant to say is that 40 will be for the carbon. And then he's taking the responsibility if these 40 get lost, or if there's a psul that happens to these 40 and they can't be used. So then you'll have another 40 that the kedusha should take effect. So he makes the kedusha on a tanai, that if these are going to be fit for use, then these should be used. These 40 should be used. And if not, then the kedusha of the other 40 should be used. That's what he meant to say. And therefore, al tanai, I sinu. And therefore, he's bringing the 80 chalas here on a tanai. If you can't use the first set of 40, you'll use the other set of 40. So therefore, Chizkiya says it takes effect. Mar Savar, but Yechanan says, no, the carbon god l'kamachavin. We translate his words literally, that he wants to bring a big carbon, and therefore, the whole 80 can't take effect. If it doesn't work b'zeh chazeh, it doesn't work together, it doesn't work b'vasachas either, and therefore it doesn't take effect. The Gemara continues now and goes back to what Rav said. So Rav said a person that establishes an Eiruvin to go to a tree, but he didn't establish the specific place, like it said in the Mishnah, he just said tachtov, so then it doesn't take effect and he can't go anywhere. He lost the shvisa where he is because he wanted to make a shvisa somewhere else. There it didn't take effect either because he didn't specify. So now he can't move out of his dalar amas. Abaye said, Leishonu ela beilon shetachtov yud beis ama. We're talking about a tree that the span of the branches of the tree on both sides together, it's 12 amas. So you have 4 amas, middle 4 amas, and another 4 amas. So then we say that if he established his shvisa in the middle 4 amas, so the other 4 amas on the sides do not overlap the 4 amas that are in the middle. Aval beilon she'ein tachtov yud beis ama, but a tree that does not have beneath it 12 amas, let's say it has 11 amas, had a miktsas beisai niker. So then the shvisa in the middle, the other amas on the side overlap the middle one as well. So therefore, even if his shvisa is in the middle, it's definitely overlapping part of the other set of amas that are on the side as well. So therefore, part of the place of where he establishes shvisa is definite, is clear, is specified, and therefore his shvisa will take effect. Fragt the Gemara, Maskef la Rav Huna bered Rav Yeshua. Rav Huna bered Rav Yeshua asked, why are we assuming this? Mimai the ba'arbe mitzias komisayim. How do you know that he means the middle ones, and therefore we say that in a case where the amas on the side overlap the middle, so then it's good enough. Dilme ba'arbe da haygisa or ba'arbe da haygisa. Maybe his intention when he says under this tree, since he did not specify at all, maybe he meant to say that he's going to make the Eiruvin the one on the outer 4 amas of the span of the branches on the north side, or the span of the branches on the south side, which are not overlapping at all. Why are we basing this all on the middle 4 amas? That as long as the side amas overlap the middle one, then it's fine. Fine, they're overlapping the middle one. But maybe, since he didn't specify at all, maybe he meant to establish his shvisa on one side or the other side. So he still doesn't have a good Eruv here. Therefore, the Gemara switches what was said over here. Elam Rav Huna bered Rav Yeshua. So rather, Rav Huna bered Rav Yeshua said, Leishanu ela bilon shetachtov ches amas. When you have a tree that below the tree there's 8 amas, so you have 2 set of 4 amas that do not overlap each other, and he did not specify, so we don't know where his shvisa is. Is it in this 4 amas or in another 4 amas? So therefore it won't take effect. Aval beilon shetachtov zayin amas. But if it's a tree that the whole span of the branches is only 7 amas, hari miktas beisei nikah. You don't know exactly where in these amas he's establishing his shvisa for 4 amas, but it's overlapping each other to some extent. 1 amma is overlapping each other, so part of it is known, part of it is specified. So therefore that's enough for the shvisa to take effect, even if it's not full 4 amas that the shvisa is known, and therefore he will be able to carry it to there, and then from there to his house. Sagt the Gemara weiter, going back to the machlokes of Rav and Shmuel. So again, Rav's opinion was, because he didn't specify, so therefore he loses where he is, he loses that shvisa there, he can't go anywhere, he has to stay in his 4 amas. Shmuel says, no, he doesn't lose where he is. He can go to the tree, he can go there, but because under the tree we don't know exactly where his shvisa is, to be able to walk from his tree to his house will be an issue if his house is out of the 2,000 amas from the opposite side of the span of the branches of the tree. Then it'll be an issue. But he could walk to there. So the Gemara is going to bring a brayso now, like Shmuel, Tanya Kavasei de Shmuel, and Tanya Kavasei de Rav. And we learned like Rav. So the Gemara brings first one brayso, a person is coming on the way, and it's becoming dark. He knows about a tree or a fence that's about 2,000 amas away. I want to dwell over there for Shabbos. It's worthless, like we learned in the Mishnah, he didn't specify. If he says, he specifies a place, my shvisa should be in that specific place, and as Gemara will explain that it is a place that's surrounded with a fence, or it's a specific place, like a Rosh Hashanah Yachid, then he could go and walk until he comes to that place. He comes to that place, Mahalachas Kulai, you can walk in that area, and then out of it as well, another 2,000 amas. Now the Brayse explains, if that place that he designated is a specific place, Kagoin, what does it mean a specific place? Kagoin Sheshavas Betel, it's a specific mount, Shehu Gavoya Yud, it's high 10 Tfachim, Vuhu Midal Damas Vad Beis, and its surface is either from 4 amas to Beis Hasayim, up to Beis Hasayim, which is the maximum measurement of a Rishus HaYachid that you're allowed to carry there. So it's a specific Rishus HaYachid, it's tall 10 Tvachim, it's 4 Ames to Beis Hasayim, so it's a specific place that he established for his Shvisa, so that's okay. Or B'chein Bika, another place that's specific, a valley, Shiamuka Yud, its depth is 10 Tvachim, V'imedal Damas Vad Beis Hasayim, and it's a space of an area from 4 Ames to Beis Hasayim, so it's also a specific area that he established, and therefore he can carry there. But if it's an area that it doesn't have a fence around it, or it doesn't have that height of exactly 10 Tvachim, so then the Mokim Mesuyim is only 4 Ames, not more than 4 Ames, not to 2,000, not to Beis Hasayim, that is. It's only going to be 4 Ames. So this is the first part of this Braisa, basically similar to what we said in the Mishnah, that when he's making the Shvisa, it has to be specified. It can't just be in that tree, in that area. It has to be specified, an area that he's making the Shvisa there. How about what if there's 2 people that are traveling together? One person knows specifically a place where he wants to establish a Shvisa. He knows that area, and in his mind, he has in mind specifically where it is. But the other person does not know. He doesn't maybe has a general idea, but he doesn't know. So the one that does not have the idea of that place, he gives over his shvisa to the one that does know. And now the person that knows will say shvisasi or shvisaseinu. Another gear, so he's saying it for both of them. He's making a mashliach to establish the shvisa in that specific area, b'makim ploni. B'dalad Ames, b'makim ploni, in that particular place. Okay. So this will only work if in that place that you are establishing your shvisa is if you establish dalad ames over there. So it's a specific place you specified. So then it's going to take effect. You did not establish dalad ames. What does the Braisa say? Loy yazuz mimkaimai. You can't move from your place. This is exactly like Rav's opinion. When you establish a tchum, a shvisa that is, and you're not specifying it, you lost your shvisa where you're now. You didn't get that shvisa where you are there, so therefore you can't move out of your place. Exactly like Rav said. Shall we say that this Braisa refutes Shmuel's opinion that says that you lose the shvisa where you are now and you can still go there? Shmuel answers you, no. You know what this Braisa is speaking about? From the place where you are now and until the stump of the tree, there's trei alfi, 2,000 ames, va'arba gamidi, another 4 ames. But past that, you can't walk. Okay? In other words, what the Gemara is about to say now here is, when we were talking before about this whole thing, so the case was that the place where the person is standing right now, to this tree, to the end of the span of the branches of the tree, the entire tree is all within the 2,000 ames and additional 4 ames. You always have additional 4 ames besides 2,000 ames. So the entire tree was 2,000 ames plus 4 ames within where the person is now. In such a case, Shmuel says, you don't lose your shvisa where you are now. You try to establish your shvisa in that tree. We don't know exactly where in that tree your shvisa is going to be. You're going to be able to walk to that tree, but we're always going to have to be machmer when measuring your shvisa in that tree. We're always going to have to measure from the branch that's extending outward in the opposite direction where you want to go, to be machmer. But the entire tree is within the span of your tchum, so it's not a problem. Over here in this Braisa that it says that you can't walk from where you are, lo yazuz mimikaimai, the reason is because only half of the tree is in your tchum, plus 4 ames. The other half of the tree is not within your tchum, and we don't know where you established your shvisa. If you try to establish your shvisa out of the tchum, so then it's out of the tchum, so then you can't move from your place. Let's see it in the words of the Gemara inside. From where you are until the stump of the tree, it's 2,000 ames plus 4 ames. If you're going to place his shvisa on the other side of his tree, that's outside of his tchum. So therefore, Isim Dal Damis, if he specified 4 Amis and it's inside his Tchum, Matziyazel, so then he can go there. But Vilay, otherwise he can't, because maybe when he said the tree, it goes on the place, the Shvisa is outside of his Tchum. That's the case where Shmuel will agree that he can't walk anymore. Now the Gemara brings another Braisa, Tanya Kavasei the Shmuel. We learned in a Braisa like Shmuel. Person didn't know the halacha, and he made a mistake. He made an Erev going in 2 opposite directions. The person thought, or the Bach says, that you can make an Erev to go to the north, go to the south. He made 2 Erevin to go to 2 opposite directions. You can't do that. You establish a Shvisa wherever you are. That's where your Shvisa is. You can go 2,000 Amos in every direction from there, but you can't establish a Shvisa in 2 opposite directions. He told his servants to make an Erev for him, but he forgot to tell them exactly where. One makes it for him in the north, another one makes it in the south. So now, if these 2 Eiruvin in the 2 opposite directions are not all the way far out at the edge of the Tchum on both sides, they're overlapping to some extent, so then you're only allowed to walk as much as both of these Tchumim will allow you to go between them. Okay? If he's right in the center, and these 2 tchumen that he sent these avodim, or that he made, are all the way at the edge, 2,000 amas this way, and 2,000 amas that way, so now there's a problem. You should not move from his place. So, to heavy to yufta the Rav, should I say that this refutes Rav's opinion? What do I see over here in the first part of the Braisa? In a case where they're not all the way at an extreme, he put the 2 Eiruvin on both sides, let's say only 1,000 amas this way, 1,000 amas this way. So therefore he has space to walk in between them. We allow him, we give him that space to walk in between. So the Gemara's question is, why shouldn't we apply the same thing over here when a person establishes a Shvisa under a tree, and he doesn't specify exactly where under the tree it is? Why should we say that he doesn't have any space to walk at all? Why shouldn't we apply the same rule over here? Let's be machmer, that we don't know where the tree his Shvisa is, so we're always going to have to measure l'chumre, whichever direction he wants to go, we're going to have to measure l'chumre, his Shvisa, but we should allow him at least to walk l'chumre based on that Shvisa of that entire tree. Why should we say that he can't move from his place at all? Now Rashi here asks the question that there's not really a comparison from the case that we're speaking about over here, when he made an Erev to Tzofim and to Darim, and the case in the Mishnah where the person made an Erev in one place under a tree, but he never specified where it is. Over here, the person established 2 Eiruvin. He specified 2 Eiruvin, 1 Tzofim, 1 Darim. So now we have a problem. They can't both work. So therefore we say that that space in between, where they overlap, where it's not a contradiction to each other, you could walk. But in a case where the person never specified his Erev in the first place, so we said before, it doesn't work. You never specified, because we had the 2 reasons that we said before. Either le Messiah Masre, he didn't specify, or because kol she'ein b'zeh chazeh b'vasach haseinoi, it can't take effect in the first place. So what's the Gemara's comparison? Rashi explains in one pshat that the Gemara means to ask this itself. Why wouldn't Rav say that we interpret this person's kavanah this way? That just like when he made 2 separate Eiruvin, I give him that space to walk in between based on these 2 Eiruvin. Why don't I say when he made an Eruv in that tree and he did not specify the place, true he didn't specify it, but why don't I say that let's consider it as if he made 2 Eiruvin in 2 directions, in 2 parts of the tree, and now based on the 2 parts of the tree, I give him that space to walk, l'chumre, based on one side of the tree, the other side of the tree. Why don't I give him the same space to walk, like in this case? There's no reason why not to interpret his intention in that way and give him at least that space, l'chumra, to be able to walk. That's the Gemara's question on Rav. So this would refute Rav's opinion. So the Gemara says, you're right, Rav, Tana hu upalik. This Braisa will not fit with Rav's opinion, and Rav is a Tana, and therefore he must be arguing with this Braisa. A Gemara chesima tova to everybody.